I love Calvin and Hobbes. I don't know if many of you have heard about Calvin and Hobbes. It's a comic strip that ran from 1985 to 1995, and is considered one of the best comic strips of all time. I love it so much, in fact, that for my wedding, my wife and I got a collector's edition of all 10 years of comics, all consolidated in 4 books. I was super happy to get this gift, and I've used it many times throughout the years. For those of you who don't know, Calvin and Hobbes, like I said, is a comic strip, and it features Calvin and his imaginary friend Hobbes, who is a tiger. Hobbes is a stuffed tiger, but he imagines him to be a real tiger. They go on lots of adventures. They go to space, they go to the Yukon, and Calvin himself has a lot of adventures by himself. He plays different characters like Spaceman Spiff, or he creates beautiful things in the snow. All these things he does, all the while having thoughtful conversations, and also being the worst child I could ever think to parent. He seems like the worst, and it makes me scared to have a 6-year-old of my own. But ultimately, I think it's really fun to read these comic books. There's such great humor, such great thought, and wittiness throughout. And it's great that normally I put it on my banister throughout the day, on my upstairs banister, and I'll just go by and read a quick comic and then move on with my day. And it's great to have something that's so short and thoughtful and funny, just really quick to consume and move on with my day. Now, Calvin himself is an interesting character. He's a 6-year-old, right? Spiky blonde hair, and he is a terror to his parents, his teacher, his principal, the people around him. Most of the time he's rude, and he's you have to read it to really understand. But on the flip side, he is also incredibly thoughtful. He loves having conversations about ethics. He wants the world to become a better place. Through him, of course. He's a classic 6-year-old in many ways. But what I love a lot is his imagination, his creativity, and his artistic talent. All of which I'm remarkably jealous of. Like I said, Calvin is remarkably imaginative. He takes on personas like a superhero, stupendous man, and he is the intergalactic explorer extraordinaire, Spaceman Spiff. In addition to that, he has a time machine, a transmogrifier, a duplicator, but he also creates these beautiful art pieces out of snow. My favorite of which I'll show here, is the squid eating lots of snowmen. But of course, this isn't real, right? No one can do this in the snow. I'm mostly jealous of his artistic ability. But ultimately, I really enjoy reading about Calvin and his exploits as his characters and as himself. The adults in his life, though, all the while for the entertainment purposes of the comic strip, seem to be maybe not neglectful, but dismissive of Calvin a lot. His parents send him out into the woods a lot, or out of the house. His teacher has very little patience for him. And while I would never judge parents of a kid like this, because I don't know how you could ever have patience for a kid like this, I think more can be done for him. It seems like he's just a kid who needs more attention, more love. And I really feel bad for him in that sense. I wish that I could be there for him, even if I don't know if I could parent any better than his parents do. All of these ways that he interacts with the world, it just seems to be his way of interpreting what's important and what's not. And he has a very clear idea of what's important and what's not in his own mind. He cares nothing about school. He loves dinosaurs, and he wants to know things that many others are not interested in. For instance, he asks the teacher, I'll show it in comic strip here, if they can have a lively debate about whether or not cannibalism should be given a better sentence than murder, because it's ultimately less wasteful. Things that he thinks about like that. The adults in his life seem to tell him very particular things, and he's not interested in that. He's a very solitary thinker, and I'm jealous that I'm not as creative that way as he is, and I hope that I will be one day. All this to say, Calvin and Hobbes makes me really happy. And I think any reader of Calvin and Hobbes will agree with me. It just makes you happy. It's fun, and it's intelligent. And for parents out there, it's a little bit fantasy and a little bit too close to home. I see these parents parent Calvin, and I critique them, as I think most people do, as not being patient enough, as not being loving enough. And I have to take a look in the mirror and think, am I meeting my kids where they deserve to be met? I don't know. You know, my kids love to play make-believe. I'm really bad at that. They love to play character games. I'm really bad at that. They love to draw, and they love to make art, and that is something that I'm severely lacking in. All these ways that I need to develop to meet them where they deserve to be met makes me want to be a better person. It doesn't make me want to sit down and do nothing about it, even though at the end of the day, after they've been mischievous and they've been throwing tantrums, they deserve the best of me. And that's why I need to be the best that I can be for them, to help them grow and develop, and to help them be the wonderful, philosophical, thoughtful people that I know they can be, as well as artists and great. Just be great in every capacity that they can. Do I think my kids will be as crazy and hard and wonderful as Calvin? I think they'll be wonderful in many different ways. I don't think that they'll be philosophers at 6 years old, and I don't think that they will be as bad as Calvin at 6 years old. And that's a trade-off I'm willing to make. But it's good to know where things can go, just in case I need to step up to the plate in a big way. Like any fictional characters that we may look up to or read and are entertained by, unfortunately they're not real. Calvin and Hobbes are the work of Bill Watterson, and if you don't know about Bill Watterson, I suggest that you go and look a little bit into his life. Very private man, did not want fame, just wanted to express himself in the best way that he could. And I'm so blown away by his artistic talent and his artistic integrity. I am inspired by and just so grateful for Bill Watterson because he stopped when he did. He was at his peak. He could have gone commercial. He could have made millions and millions of dollars, and I'm sure he made a fair amount of money. But he stopped where he did because he had nothing left to say. He didn't want to merchandise Calvin and Hobbes because it was against what he thought the comic strip said. And that is so inspirational and amazing to me. In this world where quantity seems to be what matters, even if the quality is not there, I'm so grateful and so disappointed that Bill Watterson stopped where he did. We get the quality, the really great stories and jokes from Calvin and Hobbes above the quantity of them, watering them down and making them worse over time. And that's something that is so impressive. Chase the idea and not the money. I don't think Bill Watterson ever intended Calvin and Hobbes to guide parents to be what they could be. But through his art and through his stories, that's what I take away from it. That's one of the things I take away from it. And as you read it, if you choose to, there are many other things to take away from his ideas. And I think they're all fantastic. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so thankful for you who watched all the way through to the end, if you did. And I'm very thankful for different mediums in which we can express ideas and receive ideas. Even if Bill Watterson isn't a classic philosopher, I love the idea that anyone through their medium can tell a wonderful, beautiful story and share fantastic ideas. Anyway, next week I think it's going to be a little more about me. I'm excited about that, and I'm so excited to hear your ideas about Calvin and Hobbes and what you've thought about them and how they've guided your life or inspired it or just made it a little bit better. Thank you so much.